Hello and welcome to the Burn KC ScorchCast. I am your host, Alex Blackburn, here to bring you the KC Sports News. If you can't tell, I'm a little under the weather today. My allergies have been kicking my butt for like a week now, and I am on the struggle bus for sure. I'm getting better. I'm a lot better than I was, Wednesday, Thursday ish. Um, but yeah, it's the springtime. So getting getting bullied by my allergies this fine late March week. But we'll be okay. I feel all right. As good as I can be after playing rugby yesterday and um obviously dealing with my allergies today. I feel okay. That being said, this is probably going to be a fairly short show. I know I say that a lot, but this one for sure will be short. Um, got some, got some college basketball to cover. I've got some Chiefs to cover. Got some Royals stuff, sporting and current stuff, and then a few other minor details that I'll go into. I won't be very long on these rants. And on the stuff that I want to talk about, just because I can barely speak without sniffling and feeling my nose run. So um, just be prepared for a short show. That being said, let's just get into it. Okay, so first things first, we've got some college basketball news to talk about. If you didn't already hear, KU was bounced in the round of 32 with a loss to Gonzaga. It was a 21-point loss. I can't remember the exact score because it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done a ScorchCast to begin with. But it's definitely been a while. But offseason for all three local teams starts now. And it started with the two Kansas schools for sure this past week. Um, Kansas today got a commitment from Riley Kugel, a former Florida guard, who entered the transfer portal pretty much right as Florida's season ended. And he's, a big athletic guy who will provide a lot of physicality and is just an all around good basketball player. Um, Only issue is, that play time comes into question. He didn't really see a whole lot of it at Florida, but the play time that he did see was pretty beneficial. And he was in the plus column for most of his Florida career, and brings a lot of all around basketball skill as well as just physical athletic skill as well. So I think he'll be an asset. I think once he develops under the Bill Self system, I think he will be a very good wing, and that's something that the Jayhawks have kind of been missing. I still think that they're going to look for another wing out there. Obviously, there's AJ Storr that's still available. Duthiero is still available, and a couple other guys that could definitely benefit the Jayhawks. I know that they might be looking for another big man to back up Hunter Dickinson should he return. Um, and they haven't seen a whole lot of movement outward in the transfer portal. No one's transferred out of Kansas as of yet. Um, so they should be preparing for that as well, because this next Kansas school has had quite a few transfers out. And one of those was former Kansas State guard Cam Carter. Cam Carter recently committed to LSU to play out his basketball career. I think he has 2 years of eligibility left, so he will be using those in his home state of Louisiana. And then still no updates on the other Wildcat transfers. Haven't been really a whole lot of movement in regard to them. There's definitely been a lot of movement in the transfer portal. Guys um, like Zeke Mayo are popping up. Um, there was a former Lawrence kid and well, Lawrence hometown kid, I should say. So that's probably a guy that's on KU's radar. Pop Isaacs, I know the history there is not great, so seems like I could probably proceed with caution towards him. But he is expected to enter the transfer portal, and a couple other bigger names, like I mentioned earlier, in store in the Arrow. Um, there's also a couple big men that are transferring as well. Um, but overall, just a lot of movement for the first, 2 weeks of the transfer portal being open. Unsurprising. In the age of NIL, that's what you're going to get. And I'm interested to see how Bill Self corrects this roster, and I'm interested to see how Jerome Tang maintains a roster. That can compete next year. Because frankly speaking, yeah, Kansas State was competitive in most of their games this season, but not to the liking, I think, of Jerome Tang and the K-State fan base. I know a lot of stuff happened, but a lot of stuff happened to Kansas too. And frankly speaking, there's really no excuse for how Kansas State performed this year. First round exit in the NIT, I don't think was what they had in mind. Um, and then Kansas, obviously an exit in the round of 32. A lot of people are calling this team the worst in the Bill Self era. It's not that big of a stretch. So you're going to see a lot of overcorrection. So I'm interested to see what kind of corrections we see from both Kansas schools. As for Missouri, they got a lot of work to do. Let's just say that. They got a young roster. So there's that. They got a young developing roster, which will be better next year. And they were competitive in some of those games that they lost in conference play, but they still did go 0-18, or excuse me, 0-19 in conference play, which is pretty embarrassing. I think the last time Missouri did that was like 19, like in the early 1900s, which is crazy. Um, so just a just a bad season overall for local major college basketball. Um, but we move on, and the teams will get better. It's always darkest before the dawn, y'all. Don't forget that. We're gonna go into some Chiefs talk next. All right, let's talk about the Chiefs because there's been quite a bit of news surrounding the Chiefs in the past couple of weeks. Let's first start out by talking about the Mark Donovan comments regarding the April 2nd vote for the sales tax extension to fund stadium projects for both the Chiefs and the Royals. Um, Essentially, if you didn't already see what Mark said, basically what he said was the Chiefs, there's no guarantee of them staying should a no vote pass. And to be honest with you, whether that statement was taken out of context or not, I think that's by far the stupidest thing that you can say as a team president who is kind of hedging on this sales tax extension to be passed, because frankly speaking that just ticks people off. It's not You have to understand that that's a pretty empty threat given the fact that the Hunt family owns the Chiefs, given the fact that the Hunt family has so much roots in Kansas City, and given the fact that you really think Kansas City is going to let this team leave. Sales tax or no sales tax, mind you. I think that's absurd. And I think it's an incredibly tone deaf comment. Again, out of context or not out of context, it's an incredibly tone deaf comment and says a lot about Mark Donovan and kind of says a lot about why the NFLPA graded Clark Hunt and the front office of the Chiefs so low is because it really is you were seeing a lot of stuff that is tone deaf, stuff that is very ignorant coming out of the Chiefs front office. I mean, from Clark Hunt's comments, walking back the locker room promise, even though a lot of people knew that that locker room was promised to the players, even like fans did. So I don't understand why he's walking those comments back now. Um, and then Mark Donovan's comment, what's been happening with the Snead stuff. I mean, why did that take so long to go through? We're gonna talk about the Snead situation here in just a second, but I I'm frankly disenfranchised with the Chiefs front office right now. I really am. It's it's very discouraging to see the son of the legendary Lamar Hunt be this incompetent. I mean, it really is. You have a suite that looks like a mansion in the Arrowhead, and you can't be bothered to give your team a better locker room. You can't be bothered to use your money, not the people's money, not the tax dollars of this of Jackson County. You can't be bothered. You're a billionaire, Clark. Start put your money where your mouth is, dude. Stop being out of touch. I mean, frankly, it's ridiculous at this point. Yeah, the Chiefs have 3 Super Bowls. No thanks to you, dude. I'm just being honest. I understand that, like, oh, it's his money that goes towards the club and blah blah blah. What has he done other than be a figurehead? And now he has the gall, and Mark Donovan has the gall to ask for this sales tax extension. I understand that it was already in place, but you are asking something that can easily be done by your private equity. You're asking the Jackson County taxpayer to do. And I think that's ridiculous. And that's one of the things that has bothered me most about sports franchises is these billionaire owners that act like they can come up into a city and hold them hostage. I mean, that's ridiculous. And same goes for John Sherman. Whoop-de-doo, you signed Bobby Witt Jr. to an 11-year contract. But now you're going to spit in the face of the Kansas City public that has adored you through thick and thin. It's absurd to me, and it's disgusting that Mayor Lucas is supporting yes on this. He came out and supported yes. And you know, I'm on the fence about the whole stadium issue about the new Royal Stadium going down in the Crossroads. I I lean more towards no, especially when I hear stuff like this that is so out of touch and such a slap in the face to the Kansas City public. And the fact that the mayor has supported it makes me think less of him too. So I mean, I guess just show the public what you think, Jackson County. If whether you vote yes or whether you vote no, I mean, it's up to you. But we've seen Clark Hunt, Mark Donovan, and John Sherman's true colors, in my opinion. And frankly speaking, I'm very discouraged by those comments. Again, I know that there's a lot behind closed doors that happens, but from the public comments that have been made, it's really not a good look for team ownership in Kansas City. Um, what's also not a good look is the fact that Rashi Rice may have been involved in a leaving the scene of an accident case involving 6 different cars and minor injuries. According to Dallas PD, a Corvette and a Lamborghini were speeding down US 75 in Dallas, Texas, when the Lamborghini lost control and proceeded to hit 4 different cars and causing a 6 car pileup. The drivers of both the Corvette and the Lamborghini that were racing down US 75, mind you, both left the scene of the accident. Um, and the Chevy Corvette that was involved in the race and in the wreck is believed to be belonging to Rashi Rice. His ID was reportedly in there. It's been reported by TMZ, so it's kind of flimsy, but it's been reported by TMZ that he was at the scene of the accident and he was seen leaving the scene of the accident. Um, it's just not a good look. And I hope and I remain optimistic that Rice was not there, that his car was stolen. He let, maybe one of his friends borrow it. I mean, that would be not necessarily an ideal situation, but it would be a lot better if, you know, it would be a lot better than him being directly involved. But, you know, it's still an issue of him getting involved with the wrong crowd. Um, Overall, it's not a very good look for Rashi Rice. And, you know, when you're hitting, when you were a rookie wide receiver that was one of the top rookie wide receiver performers in the league last year, I don't know how you make this stupid of a mistake. But if you were involved at all, but it was still your car that was there. And the fact that we haven't heard anything from Rice right now is incredibly discouraging. That tells me that he was involved in some capacity, which does not make me feel good. But we'll disclose more news as that comes. As of right now, that's really all we know. I'm sure the police will have to, complete an investigation. They'll probably have to talk with Rice at some point. Um, and as of now, he is innocent until proven guilty, but the optics do not look good. So I will keep you guys updated as that story goes along. Let's get into some good Chiefs news because we have started out doom and gloom with the Chiefs news right now. The Chiefs ended up signing a Welsh international player via the NFL international pathway. Lewis Reed Zammit is a former Welsh professional rugby player. He also played for the Welsh national team. Um, he was a winger for both the Gloucester Cherry Whites and the Welsh national team and will be playing as a running back slash wide receiver who will also be doing kick returns. If you haven't read my article over at College Football Dogs regarding this, please go check it out because I'm really just going to summarize what I said in that article real quick because it's a lot, but I really like this signing. If nothing else, it's a cool preseason story, but I can see it turning into Andy Reid having found his next X factor and his next weapon potentially. Um, Reed Zammit runs a 4.34 40 and has great hands. He has good directional speed. He has great ball skills and I think could really be put in as a sort of Swiss Army knife for the Kansas City Chiefs to use. Uh, there's it's going to be really interesting uh, to see how Andy Reid incorporates them. Patrick Mahomes is excited. Travis Kelce's excited about this signing, and I think everybody in Chiefs Kingdom is at the very least intrigued. Um, and it's also brought the sport of rugby a ton of recognition in the area. I don't know if you guys watch KCTV5, but my own Kansas City Blues, I'll talk about them a little later, were interviewed by KCTV5, um, KCTV5's Betsy Webster, and we were told to react to the news of Reed Zammit signing. Um, our our club executive, Chris George, and one of our players, Josiah Lucas, did the interview. And it had a lot of features from guys like Gavin Kirk, Med Barrow, and it's pretty cool to see. Go check it out if you haven't already. I've shared it everywhere, so please go check it out. It's a great listen. It'll give you just like what it means to the U.S. rugby community, but also the Kansas City community. So just exciting times. It's a great signing. Um, Let's go ahead and get into the L'Jarius Sneed burning question, though. I asked you guys, was the Sneed trade worth it? And here's how you guys responded. So you guys responded to the L'Jarius Sneed burning question with a pretty interesting outlook. Let's just have a look here. Let me pull up the results as you had already seen them. Uh, you kind of had a let's wait and see um, viewer viewpoint of of the situation. Um, we got a couple of comments as well over on Reddit. I'm not going to show them. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties with that, but I will read them off as we did get a couple of comments. So let's look. So, first one that I thought was really funny, from Brett MBR. If he fumbles, I'm really looking forward to yelling, "Damn it, Zammit!" And yeah, that's a yeah, that's pretty funny. Um, we've got Tobler, sorry, Toblerone Ace One. That's a very interesting name. Uh, I like low risk, innovative moves like this. Running back and wide receiver is a good position, and I'd like to see him in positions where he'll be able to run the ball. Yep, I fully agree. I think with the new kickoff rules, and just top speed for him being 24.3 miles per hour, um, and just how Indy can get super innovative with this offense. I really like it. And then Sir Brody comments, I want to see this man run a jet sweep. Is that Brody Croyle or Sir Brody? Are you Brody Croyle? The Brody Croyle? The world wants to know. Um, but yeah, no, I think that would be really cool to just incorporate some trick plays in the backfield for him, just to see how he runs those lines. Part of rugby is running good, lines to hit that defensive gap, and really just expose the defense. Um, and Reed Zamet's really good at it. So um, I'm intrigued to see how that translates to football. And then obviously with the new kickoff rules being more akin to rugby kickoffs, that's going to be really interesting. So again, go check out my article on Reed Zamet. Um, we're not talking about Reed Zamet, though, are we? I sincerely apologize. Goodness gracious, I'm so sorry. I meant to comment, or I meant to read these comments. Goodness gracious. I sincerely apologize. Can you tell I'm tired? Um, I cannot read that name because that is a not safe for Burn KC podcast name. But your face, I'll just abbreviate it. Um, an ultimate, excuse me, I can't even read. Jeez. Ultimately, it's likely a 20 to 30 spot move up in the third round in 2025 for what a I can never pronounce this word. Compensatory pick might have given us, assuming we didn't sign anyone to offset them, and we get a 2024 move up in the seventh, currently undetermined in number of spots. Is all of that worth a 1 year rental of keeping Snead and losing compensatory value? Perhaps, but we choose to extract some value from it that might actually pave way towards making a relatively sizable move in this draft to fix and plug another hole. That is a very poignant comment, in my opinion. That's a very well thought out comment too for someone with a name like yours, your face. Um, but yeah, I agree. I mean, you move up in the third round in 2025. We've had some gems in the third round for this team. Brett Beach knows how to draft in those mid to late rounds. Um, Still working on those first round though, those first round picks, but um those mid to late rounds is where Brett Beach shines. So I fully agree that a 20 to 30 spot move up in the third round is absolutely magnificent. And then when you move up in the seventh round in 2024, keep in mind you got to say Pacheco in the seventh round. It's not a complete waste of a pick. And when you move up in the seventh, it's a higher likelihood that you get someone that may have fallen through the cracks and maybe a sleeper pick. So, um, overall, over a 1 year rental deal for Snead, like he said, yeah, I fully agree that this trade was worth it. And I just have my doubts of them ever reaching a deal with Snead in the 2024-2025 offseason. So, um, got another comment here from P222039. Think we got about as much as we could from a guy with a bad knee, one of the long-term long-term contract at a position that is notoriously volatile and wouldn't settle for anything less than top dollar. Chiefs seem like they did right by him and could easily just paid him on the tag and recoup a day two pick next year. Value is only based on what the market will bear, not what the home team thinks their guy is worth. That's another poignant comment. Is there a reason that Snead did not get picked for, all pro, Pro Bowl this year? Maybe there is. And he's exactly right. Snead is injury prone. So I just, I don't want to say, oh, he was overrated, but, he was asking for a lot. I mean, he was asking for top cornerback money. And while I agree that he's one of the best corners in the NFL, it's simply something that the Chiefs couldn't afford. And he wasn't able to take a team friendly deal. So yeah, we let him walk. And frankly speaking, it's not like he'll be immediately replaceable, but we do have guys in line at the cornerback position right now that could replace him, as well as the draft capability of Brett Veach. Because again, keep in mind, Snead was a fourth round draft pick. Brett Veach knows what he's doing. So I think we should trust in him. Um, do I think that it would have been nice to keep Snead around? Yeah, but only at the value that, you know, only at a value that was friendly towards the Chiefs. Um, and then finally, threat 024. I'm waiting to see if they're able to use any extra cap room to sign anybody else before judging. As it stands, I would have preferred to just keep him one more year in the tag. When you have a championship caliber team, I prefer the team going all in, while this trade seemed more like a move to secure the future. Um, I see a lot of discourse regarding long term versus short term in regards to how the Chiefs do in offseason. I think the reason a lot of teams are struggling is because they did go all in and they did, try and play catch up with the Chiefs essentially. I will go back to this quote until the quote no longer sticks. When you have Patrick Mahomes, you have a chance to win it all every year. And while I agree football is a team game, and if you put a crappy enough roster behind Mahomes, he's eventually going to suck. But I mean, he was throwing to Walmart cashiers this past year, and they won the Super Bowl. I mean, aside from Rashi Rice, of course, but they won the Super Bowl with pennies on the dollar wide receivers. Like, just you have to put your trust and faith into Veach, Reed, and Mahomes, and I think that's exactly what the Chiefs are doing. Um, as for let's wait and see what they do with that extra cap room. It's looking like they'll re-sign Mike Dana, who had a huge year last year, so I'm completely fine with that. If they go out and sign another free agent, that's also cool. But I really like the Dana move. You secure that defensive front that will cause disruption in the pass game. And I mean, keep in mind, Dana had about as many sacks as Chris Jones had last year. So I mean, he's an asset, and the more pressure you get on the quarterback, the easier it is for those defensive backs to play. And I really think that that would be a great move. Um, so I went over two Reddit comments there. Um, thanks for participating on Reddit. I really appreciate it. Um, I think that Reddit is a great tool to get honest maybe a little blunt opinions on the local Kansas City sports teams, but it's a great source of information. And like I just read off, there's some pretty knowledgeable people on Reddit. Um, and I liked those comments. So thank you for the community participation. But let's go ahead and move on to the Royals. And then we're going to move on to the Sporting KC and current segment, and then we'll wrap up. So stay tuned. All right, so let's talk about the Royals. Big day today from the Royals. 11 to nothing win. Bobby Witt Jr. was one double short of the cycle today. Where did this offense come from? I saw a tweet earlier that said, like Jesus, today the Royals offense has risen. Boy, howdy has it. I mean, one run each in the past two games, and then you just explode for 11 runs. Where did that come from? Just did the Twins just like say, we gotta let them have at least one, right? uh, I mean, it was crazy. Um, you know, you want to see more of that from the Royals, obviously, but you also want to see a healthy balance of pitching and offense because, frankly speaking, the pitching this year has been spectacular. Um, all three starting pitchers so far have thrown 6 innings or more, have thrown for one run or less, and have thrown for like I think like 8 to 10 strikeouts each, which is crazy. I mean, the starting pitching for the Royals is really, really good this year. They just got to find some relievers. Um, and obviously, they got to find offense when they need it. Because frankly speaking, the past two games, the offense has been completely inept. Um, Obviously, we're 3 games into a 162 game season, so there's really not much we can judge off of just yet. But, you know, that's what we're seeing at this point. And I really like what I'm seeing from Royals pitching so far. And it's a major step up from last year. If the offense can get itself in gear, I think the Royals have an excellent chance at being in the AL Central race. Um, Obviously, again, we're 3 games in, so it's incredibly hard to judge. But if we continue to see those offensive performances like we saw today, count me in as a Royals AL Central Division winner believer because the offense was awesome today. The pitching awesome as well. Brady Singer threw 7 scoreless innings. I mean, it's night and day from what he was, even last year, but even more so 2 years ago. Brady Singer was one of our worst pitchers 2 years ago. He kept on getting bounced to minor league. Nobody really knew like if he was going to be a bust or not. I think he's finally coming into his own, and I think we saw that today. Um, and I hope the success continues for him because I like Brady Singer. Um, I like most of the Royals, most of them. I don't like their front office, but I like the Royals players, and I like Matt Cocharo as well. I think he can find success here. Um, just got to continue building, you know. As far as speaking of that front office, uh, so the vote's in 2 days, and I'm not going to go over what I went over for the Chiefs one. I kind of already explained my thoughts and opinions on that. Um, But man, what's gonna happen if, we vote no, or Jackson County votes no? What's gonna happen, John? Are you sure you want to move the Royals out of Kansas City? Sure you can't just use a little bit more of your own, private equity? That's all I gotta say on that. Um, let's move on to soccer. Kind of a short section for the Royals, but overall, like I said, these are going to be shorter sections. I know the Chiefs one was pretty massive, but again, there was a lot of news for the Chiefs. Not a whole lot for the Royals, and there's really not going to be a whole lot for Sporting and the Current either. So let's just dive in. All right, let's talk about the Sporting KC and KC Current, shall we? Um, Solid start to the season for both sides. I think Sporting definitely learned their lesson from last year and is has decided the slow start is not for them. That's for sure. Um, they ended up winning 3-1 yesterday, and I believe that may have been their first one of the year, like true win. Oh no, no, no. They've had one other win. Sorry. Yeah, against San Jose. Duh. They did have their first loss against the LA Galaxy, which the LA Galaxy is a really good team. Um, but overall, not a terrible start to the season. Not ideal per se, but not terrible. They currently sit in the sixth place spot right now. So yeah, not bad. Certainly not bad. Um, they play next, obviously in April, because April's tomorrow. Um, they play Sunday, April 7th against Portland. And then comes the big one against Miami. Messi comes to town. Those tickets are ludicrously expensive. Last I checked. I'm not even sure if there are any left, though. That's kind of the power of Lionel Messi over soccer. Um, Frankly, I wish I got to see him, but is what it is. Um, should be a great, great matchup. Obviously, the game is going to be in Miami, so um, or actually, no, it's going to be. Oh, it's going to be at Arrowhead. Sorry, my apologies. That's pretty cool. First time soccer's been at Arrowhead since the Wizards played there. Um, should be awesome. I mean, honestly, should be a great time. We've got plenty of soccer to be played still, but right now, Sporting looks like they're in decent form. Still have some improvements to be made on the defensive side of the ball, and just production wise offensively. But overall, a team that's in decent form, but not their top form quite yet. We This is not the team that beat the one seed last year in the MLS playoffs. Um, but this is still a solid team. As for the current, it's night and day. I mean, it truly is. Um, Still, I believe, have not suffered a single loss yet. Um, Let me go ahead and check. I believe they've drawn a game, but they haven't lost. Or no, they didn't even draw that game. They won that game. Gosh, ladies are killing it so far. 3-0. First place in the NWSL right now. Um, awesome play so far. We've got, yeah, they are first place the in the NWSL right now, and have shown great physical defense. They've shown that they can finally capitalize on possessions, um, and keep that possession. And it showed itself in droves against Angel City FC yesterday. Um, and I mean, you're beating teams like the San Diego Wave, which is also a really good team. Um, just keep that going. I think this is kind of a revenge campaign for the Kansas City Current this year. They need to stay hot though and stay in top form, and I think they can absolutely do that. They showed great play from the times that I watched them, and I think that this is a year that the Current can make a great run. So just keep that offense hot. The defense still needs some work, which is why I say keep the offense hot. There are some times where the defense just looks kind of silly. But overall, you know, Franch is a great goalkeeper, and she's definitely shown it. And if as long as you get that offensive production, I don't think you have to worry too much about the defense. So overall, great start to the season for the Current. Good enough start for Sporting. Let's get into a couple minor things and then we'll wrap up. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up with a few minor things here. KC Blues went to Nashville to play rugby 2 weeks ago, or not this past weekend, but the weekend before that. Um, they went 2-1. They got third place in their tournament division and had a great time. I was there. I would know. So great times were had in Nashville with the KC Blues. Can't wait for the next overnight trip. It was awesome. So much fun. Nashville's a great time. Um, and just overall, as long as you're doing it responsibly, it's a great time. um, other rugby stuff though. This past weekend, the Blues did have a game against the St. Louis Bombers. Unfortunately, they lost the game by 3 points. Penalties killed us, but overall, it was a great effort. Very physical game, and should have been a Blues win, but unfortunately, shoulda, woulda, coulda only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades or whatever the saying is. Um, we go to Wichita next weekend to go play with the Wichita Barbarians. Should be another great physical matchup. So stay tuned for the results of that. Um, and then just some minor college football news as well. KU's Calvin Clements suffered a lower leg injury in practice today. Calvin Clements is a starting offensive lineman for the Jayhawks. It's not looking good. He's going to miss several months with a major lower leg injury. So KU will likely have to find his replacement. Uh, Unfortunate timing with the start of spring ball, just right there. Um, but is what it is. I fully believe that Leipold will adjust accordingly. Other than that, that's our show. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Easter. For those who celebrate Easter, I hope you had a great time with your families and got lots of eggs. And overall, just had a happy day. I know I did. I had a great time with family today. Um, I am going to go treat my allergies. Have a great night. This has been the Burn KC signing off.